Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michael McMahon, and today on the Mike's on Sports Show, we'll be talking about UFC Fight Night 158. Let's get it. All right, and for the first fight of the night, we had Misha Cerrone going up against the undefeated Jimmy Crute. Misha Cerrone is number 15 in the light heavyweight division, and Jimmy Crute is a pretty new addition, but a very good-looking young prospect for the business. But Misha Cerrone put him in a Peruvian necktie in just about 3 minutes and 38 seconds in the first round. Not a very good outing for Jimmy Crute, but it's definitely a young guy, and we'll be looking forward to seeing him bounce back on his next fight whenever that would be. The next fight, though, we had somebody who's probably going to go in the Hall of Fame, Uriah Hall, going up against Antonio Carlos Jr. And just looking at the numbers here, Antonio Carlos Jr., he threw 148 punches, landed 81 of them, went 55% for total strikes, and Uriah Hall went 41 of 86, going 48% of his total strikes. Uriah Hall did have a couple more significant strikes landed than Antonio Carlos Jr., but Antonio Carlos Jr. was also going for takedowns. He had 3 takedowns in the fight as well. And just besides one knockdown from Uriah Hall, that was enough to get him the win by a decision. It wasn't a decision that I made, obviously. The judges thought Antonio Carlos Jr. just didn't do enough. It was a pretty controversial call, in my opinion, but Uriah Hall did come out with the win. And a more captivating fight after the Uriah Hall fight was Michel Pereira versus Tristan Connelly. And Michel Pereira, he's out of Brazil and a very enthusiastic fighter, I would say. Comes out, took him 6 minutes to even get into the ring while he was just dancing and stuff. And he comes in the ring and he does his breakdancing routine and just wasting a lot of energy in the beginning of the fight. Before the even fight starts, he's probably wasted half of his gas tank on all the theatrics. And I'm not complaining. I personally love the entertainment aspect of the UFC. So when we have people with personalities and stuff step into the ring and show their personality and show us that they're more than just a fighter, I respect that, and it's fresh to see, I feel, because a lot of times in the UFC we see people who are biting down on their mouthpiece. They don't really care about the entertainment side of it. They want to go in there, they want to fight. And to each his own, but I like to see Michel Pereira fight. In his first fight, he got a knockout within the first couple minutes with a flying knee. And I was expecting to see the same in this fight against Tristan Connelly, but Tristan Connelly, he is from Vancouver, which is where the fight took place, so he kind of had that hometown advantage as well. But at the end of the day, round 1, Michel Pereira, he comes off blasting, doing cartwheels into backflips and Superman punches off the cage, jumping off the cage, trying to hit flying knees, jumping over Tristan Connelly, just not giving Tristan Connelly the respect that he deserves. And at the end of the day, Tristan Connelly just kept his hands up, was doing really, really good blocking the exotic punches and kicks Michel Pereira was throwing at him, and was able to get the win in the fight. Just because by the end of the first round, Michel Pereira was just so tired. He couldn't do anything. He was just wanting to go down to the ground, and at which point Tristan Connelly just dominated him on the ground. Made sure that Tristan Connelly always kept a more dominant position during the fight, and it was a close round 1, but Tristan Connelly definitely won rounds 2 and 3. the total strikes, Michel Pereira threw 107 strikes and landed 56. Tristan Connolly threw 222 strikes and landed 151. And that's just because Michel Pereira only threw strikes in the first round. And you could even hear Daniel Cormier on the commentating board talking about after the second round, or after the first round going into the second round, that those tricks and stuff were over. You know, Michel Pereira, we saw him get a little bit more serious and try to actually fight, but that by that moment it was too late. The gas tank was already empty for Pereira. But it was a great fight to watch, and it was a pretty good underdog story for Tristan Connolly on a fight where you would think he would get knocked out of the first round. He definitely showed determination and grit, and he definitely made me a fan of him. He kind of looked kind of like a Colby Covington if I had to compare him to somebody. I definitely don't think he has the skills of a Colby Covington, but as far as having a gas tank and being able to take the punishment that Michel Pereira was dealing to him early on, because Michel Pereira did catch him with a couple of nice tricks, like Tristan Connolly was on the ground. Michel Pereira just turned around and just did a backflip onto his stomach. Just put his heels right into his stomach coming down from a backflip, and that was pretty interesting. But with all the glitz and glam, Tristan Connolly was able to pull out the win by a decision. And Tristan Connolly was asked by Daniel Cormier after the fight, what do you think of the theatrics of Michel Pereira? And Tristan Connolly just simply put it, he's getting tired before the fight. And that's exactly what happened. But moving on to the fourth fight of the night, we had Todd Duffy and Jeff Hughes. And this was a good heavyweight matchup because these guys, they don't go for a lot of takedowns and they just swing for the fences. And so it's pretty surprising. We saw Todd Duffy go for one of his first takedowns in his time with the UFC. He actually got a takedown, but he tried 3 times. But finally, he was able to... Jeff Hughes was able to get back up onto his feet and fight the takedowns. And then it was just swinging for the fences for the 2 heavyweights. And Todd Duffy was actually able to land a pretty good hook that dropped Jeff Hughes. And Jeff Hughes got back up, though, and they were trading. And Jeff Hughes was actually starting to come back and started to put Todd Duffy onto the fence and start swinging on him. But then a thumb to the eye, Jeff Hughes did a thumb to the eye to Todd Duffy while they're on the fence. It was kind of hard to see on the video, but, I mean, I can't tell what another man's feeling, so I have no place to say whether it was or wasn't. But either way, it got ruled a no contest. Todd Duffy said that he was seeing double and just wasn't able to continue the fight. So the fight was stopped with about 4 minutes left with a minute left of the first round. So it was a 4-minute bout, but I hope to maybe see a rematch in the coming future, but we will see about that. The next fight was another Hall of Famer on here, Glover Teixeira versus Nikita Krylov. And as you would imagine, it was another more of a stand-up fight, but the punches were definitely timed. It wasn't an all-out slugfest, but it was definitely timed punches. And this went to the judges' scorecard as well. And Glover Teixeira, he won that by decision, which I thought was a good call. But nothing too exciting happened in that fight. Glover Teixeira, he's kind of at that point where after every fight, you're like, he's probably going to retire. So you're not really looking at who he's going to fight next. Just because just an older kind of guy, but he's still able to get the job done, obviously. And this leads us to our main event of the night. And this was a very, very exciting main event because you got Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje. And Justin Gaethje going in has the most significant strikes landed per minute with about 8 significant strikes landed per minute, but he also has the most damage landed on him per minute with about 8 significant strikes landed to him. So his throughout his career, he's been a guy who just kept his chin up, bite down on his mouthpiece, and swing for the fences, getting a knockout. And it has worked for him in the past, but for this fight, he took more of a sophisticated approach to it when it comes to fighting and was able to be more of a counter puncher, but he definitely was getting in there scrapping with Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Justin Gaethje threw 61 punches and landed 40, while Donald Cowboy Cerrone threw 52 punches and landed 17. Justin Gaethje, he pretty much caught Cowboy Cerrone with a really nice hook that just dropped him on the ground, and he was knocked out as soon as he hit the ground. But due to the ref not, I'm not gonna say that the ref was being incompetent, but I think the ref kind of knew that Cowboy Cerrone is a tough guy, and was just trying to give him a chance to fight the knockdown and try to get his feet back up underneath him. But Donald Cowboy Cerrone was knocked out, and Justin Gaethje had to hit him a couple times, those super necessary hits that Jorge Masvidal gave to Ben Askren. It was kind of the same thing, but Justin Gaethje is a little more of a sportsman than Jorge Masvidal, and he didn't want to throw those super necessary punches, which I respect that. But at the end of the day, Justin Gaethje got the first round knockout. Only took him 4 minutes and 18 seconds to accomplish this feat, and it's not a light win on Justin Gaethje's resume. I mean, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, he is a legend, a walking legend in the sport. He has the most fight night bonuses, the most fights in UFC history, and he's just been a guy who's been here since the beginning and is just not willing to give up. He wants the belt again, and I think he'll get it someday. But for right now, it's Justin Gaethje's time, and I think Justin Gaethje, he's looking at a fight with Conor early 2020. It was supposed to be Conor and him on a pay-per-view card, but Conor McGregor, he broke his hand a couple weeks ago and was not able to, or not a couple weeks ago, it was actually more of a month ago now. So we're still kind of looking at him and seeing when his return is going to be, but it was a good fight night and one that would be a bummer to miss. But with that being said, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and thank you for listening. Have a great day.